George, did you change your name? You're coming up as Natasha Edwards. That's all right. I recognize you. Can you or Austin say something just so I can make sure I can hear you guys?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Huh. Just 1 second.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, my speaker's off. All right, how about now?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me too?
I sure can, thanks. So let me turn the speakers off. All right, so just to start out while people are rolling in here, I wanted to talk with folks about their status with NNI because I'm still showing that the only people who are fully registered are Mallory and James, and that the only other person that I see on the system is Christopher. But Christopher, it looks like maybe you need to go one further step in the registration process. It has your excuse me, username, but it doesn't have you actually enrolled in a module.
I don't even know what to do with that stupid website when we get there. I mean, it's just a big old blur.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went through a lot of trouble to get signed up for it, so I don't remember where to sign in or what my information was or anything.
Oh, you don't remember what your username is?
Well, I was pretty sure what it was, but it didn't take it.
Okay. Let me see. I should be able to tell you what your username is.
So did you have a copy of your high school diploma?
Okay. So it has you here under CL Horn.
Exactly what I thought it was.
Okay. And so here, I'm going to post a link for you and see if you can sign in, Christopher. And if not, see if it allows you to, well, here, let me get the real page. See if it allows you to change your password if it can't find it. Just 1 second. I want to make sure everybody's at a certain point this week because we're going to have an assignment for next week, and it's actually going to be part of the test, part of the Native Nations module, Nation-Owned Enterprise module. So, Christopher, try to click on that and see if you can log in or see what your login information is. And let's see. So, see, Austin, you are logged in. We need to move it over to the course.
Yeah. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, because the first time I went to the link off of Canvas, and then I logged into something else, but then I went back to the email actually this morning, and then my old username was able to come up. So
Okay. So yeah, I will. Whoops. They'll just need to. I need to request them to move you to the right place, just like everybody else once they get logged in for the first time and set up a user account. Just because we're not going through the typical, I guess, the module we're doing is part of another larger group of modules that includes citizen entrepreneurship and introduction to Native Nations building, which hopefully most of you have had in previous courses. But they need to move everyone to the correct spot once you actually get a username. So you're good. I'm checking right now on.
Steve, mine says I'm already enrolled in the course, and you need to. It says you can only take one course at a time.
Okay. What's your username, George, that you log in with?
George Moody.
Is that the actual username? Your full name?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me 1 second here. Yeah, because I was pretty sure that you were. Yeah. Okay. So you're in there. So I will ask them to move you to the right group. So you two are taken care of. Chris, any luck on your end getting any further with that link I provided or being able to log in?
Still working on it. It's giving me a runaround. I had to fool the computer or fool the website fool Outlook into letting me check my email because it kept showing me as getting nothing new in there.
So and here's the other point, and not just for registering, but using this module in the future or as we go through this course. Do not use Internet Explorer as your web browser. That causes problems. So if you use Google Chrome or Firefox or really, I believe, anything aside from Internet Explorer, the module should work all right. But apparently there's some video issues at times when you use Internet Explorer. So.
Yeah, I'm using Chrome.
Okay. So, all right. So let me. And actually, Chris, if you don't have any luck, I'm just going, since you are registered and you have a username in there already, I should be able to just request that they move you or finish the registration, whatever needs to happen there. So don't worry too much about that. So I have two students who are not here, Shayna and Deborah, who are question marks right now. So I will deal with their registrations later. Okay, so anyways, once NNI moves everybody to where they need to be this week, I will email to let you know. And essentially the assignment is just going to be to work through the first section of this module, which in each of these NNI modules, typically there are 4 quizzes, so it's divided up into quarters. And so the assignment for next week, which incidentally also is the test, a reminder, first test, will just be to work through the end of quiz number 1 in that module. And I'll add that to Canvas, that assignment, as soon as they update everybody in NNI and get you where you need to be. If for some reason they are not able to do that by a reasonable time before next Tuesday, then that assignment will be pushed back. But I'm hoping that they should be able to take care of this pretty quickly. So I will let you know either way. I have to excuse me tonight. I was sick for half of last week. My daughter gave me the first grade illness that she got from all of her friends. So, and I don't think she's kissing anybody, so I think it just happens. But anyway, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit tonight. Although I'm not going to be talking as much as I usually do, which I'm probably thankful for, because what we're going to do tonight is, so last week we worked through like the first 8 ratios in the chapter 4 financial calculations. So tonight we'll finish off with the last 2, 9 and 10. And then I'm going to have you do an in-class exercise. It's sort of going to be a work on it by yourself and then work on it or go through it with a group type of thing on some other financial statements for all 10 of those. So we'll spend probably the majority of class time tonight just working through those calculations, because I want you to be able to do it, or I want you to have an opportunity to do it in class here. And then there's going to be an assignment. You're going to do the same thing on an assignment for other financial statements, which is other practice, because this will be on the test next week. And so this is just an opportunity for us to practice it once in class, an assignment, your assignment last week, and then for the test this week. So hopefully it will be, I'm hoping that these, the calculations for the ratios and what they mean will sink in. So that's what we're going to do today. Let me see here. Where am I? Right there. And then at the end of class, I'll just do a brief review of the test next week. But it's going to be a very brief review, because essentially, all the test is going to be is what we covered in class, and any information in chapters 1 through 4, which is where we're at right now.
We're not testing today.
No test today. No. The test is voting day. So after you're done voting, then you get to come and take a test. So that should be a relief for
I don't remember any of these.
Halloween. No, Halloween is the day before. It's Monday night.
Oh.
Wow, didn't realize you were down there. I just saw your background against the wall. I'm like, oh, she's out in the hall or something. Okay. Are you charging? Okay. Anyway, so that will be a very brief review for the test. It's probably all I'll say again. But and then the other thing I'll note, and I'll say this again at the end of class tonight. So if you have any homework that's been due or that is due before the first test or by the first test, you need to get that turned in by next week by 5 o'clock. I'll accept late homework up to a certain point through the quarter. And so we basically do the first half of the quarter to test 1, and I'll accept late homework that's been assigned up to that point until test 1. And then it's not worth anything. You can still turn it in and I'll give you feedback, but it's not worth anything at that point.
Sunday night this Sunday?
Monday night, next Monday. Or actually it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday by 5. So
Okay.
you just need to get it turned in by next class, basically by the...
I wanted to try to meet up with you maybe next week to go over some stuff for the test. So
Okay.
I'll probably just talk to you after class.
Sure. And definitely I highly encourage you to do as much of that if you're behind as possible before the test, because really that's what it is. It's just practice, and then you get to do it one more time on the test. And certainly if you do have any questions for me, you can contact me and we can set up a time via Zoom, or or if you just have questions that I can answer via email, I can do that too. For next Tuesday. And I apologize, I will have all of the assignments that have been turned in to this point graded by this weekend. So, and I encourage everyone to look at my feedback. I try to give useful feedback on assignments when there's something that you're sort of off base with. And so look at the comments, and if they don't make sense to you, then certainly contact me and I can sort of explain what I was attempting to communicate there. But I hope my feedback is helpful in getting everybody to understand the material. So, okay, and that's about what we're going to do tonight. Yeah, so mostly we'll be focusing on the ratios from chapter 4. So before we head back to the numbers 9 and 10 from last week, and you can actually just bring up under week 5, there should be a copy of the partially completed financial ratios. Let me see here. I'll tell you what it's called. And you'll probably be helpful to log into Canvas if you haven't. because we will be using some of those resources. So yeah, under week 5, the work that we did last week is called In Class Chapter 4 Financial Calculations.
Thank you for that. That was really helpful.
Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, if you do have any questions, one of the reasons I like to work in class and then post it is so that you can go back and look. And again, all of these numbers here, or all of the numbers for those calculations were straight out of the book from tables 3.1 and 3.2. If for some reason you're coming up with different numbers, check the edition of your book and check. I think I posted chapter 4 reading. Maybe I didn't. Oh, you can check the tables from table 3.1 and table 3.2 and see if those tables that I posted on Canvas, which is also under week 5, are the same financial statement tables that you're seeing in your edition. And if they're not, then use the ones that are posted to Canvas. It just means you're using a different edition and they change the numbers around. So, but if you're on the same edition, you can trust those numbers. So I opened that up and we made it. Sorry. We made it to, can you actually turn that off?
Yeah.
Oh, just go to the bottom right where the speaker headphones and just, if you click on the speaker, it should mute it. So we made it through return on assets. So we have operating margin and profit margin left to work with. Let me share my screen here. You can see this. Okay. So, excuse me. This is where we're at here. And again, we're just going to use the same tables we used last week out of chapter 3, tables 3.1 and 3.2, which are the balance sheet and the income statement for Allied Food Products. And that's listed under week 5 in Canvas. So these things here. Okay. And with these, we're actually, these are the last two, operating margin and profit margin. All the information you need for both of those comes from the income statement. So you don't even need to use the balance sheet for these two. So we'll start with operating margin. And these are just like return on assets and return on equity. These are different types of measures of profitability for the business. So how profitable is the business based on sales, or how profitable is it based on earnings before interest and taxes, is what we're going to be looking at here. So operating margin is pretty straightforward. The equation for it is earning before interest and taxes, EBIT, divided by sales. And again, I'm going to specify net sales here. So, because I believe, do they give us net sales in this example?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is? There it is.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, it gives us net sales at the top, and it doesn't. Usually, when you see something like this, you'll have gross sales minus sales returns and allowances equals net sales. And in this case, they just start with net sales because they gave us a dumbed down version of an income statement here. So we have, we're going to use net sales. So EBIT divided by net sales. And for 2011, we're going to use 2011 again. We have EBIT, which is also called operating income, earnings before interest and taxes, is 283.8 million. So we have 283.8 in the numerator. In the denominator, we have net sales, which is this 3 billion essentially. So And just like 7 and 8, 9 and 10 are always going to be percentage answers. So just to let you know, you should always be reporting these as a percentage. So can someone do the math here to make sure I'm not having an error?
Steve?
Yes.
While someone's doing the math, I wanted to ask you a quick question. So, okay, let's say in the future, it asked for the first kind of sales that you said, and it wasn't in there, but net sales was the only thing in there. Is that all the sales you would use, or would you have to not use any if they only asked for a specific kind of sales?
Well, so if they have net sales, always use net sales. If they don't have net sales, then they will just typically have a line item called sales or total revenue or something like that. And so in that case, you would just use whatever sales number they give you. But if you are offered the option, or I should say, if net sales is one of the revenue line items in your income statement, then always use net sales because that's more accurate.
What if they ask for a different kind of sales than net sales?
They won't, because I'm the only one who's asking you for sales. So I'm the one who determines what types of sales.
Because I can't remember which homework it was, but I went by the list of the listings in the back of the book for chapter 4 that there was, and I couldn't find the exact what you were asking for the ratio, so I used what I thought was closest compared to what I had in chapter 4. I don't know if you got it yet, but you'll see it.
Well, yeah, the calculations we did last week, we used net sales in, and there is a net sales in those financial statements.
Yeah, there was a net sales. It was something else that there wasn't. I can't remember what it was.
Okay. Well, yeah. Yeah, let me know if any of these variables are missing, then let me know. But I'm pretty sure I've used these for multiple quarters, so they should be in there. So for the operating margin, did anyone else do the calculation? Does 9.46% look right?
Yeah.
We have a yes? Okay.
I forgot to move my decimal point over on some of my answers on the homework.
Right. Yeah. So resubmit. You can resubmit. If I haven't graded it, you can resubmit it. So James was noting that he didn't necessarily do the decimal point right on the percentage answer. So if you didn't, if you may have done the same thing or had another error that you realized tonight, and I haven't graded last week's homework yet, you can certainly resubmit. You can submit another file. So feel free to do that.
I have a question on that. Now, I was wondering if he did the math on his calculator, or if he did it on the computer, because if you do it on the computer, isn't it supposed to put it in the right spot for you?
Only if it's in percent. Only if it's in a percent format. If it's not in a percent format, then it'll give you. If you go into Excel and just use a general number format,
yeah.
9.46, it'll give you. Whoops. It'll give you 0.0946. So that's what you'll be looking at.
All right. So yeah, you'd have to put it in a percent format. All right.
Yeah. All right. So that is operating margin. And just like the other ratios, this can be used to compare to other firms' numbers, specific firms, benchmarks, averages. You can look at you can compare a company's historical performance. So and you can do that with really any of these ratios. You can look at what the operating margin of the business was last year and the year before, and see how this year's operating margin compares with that. These are all just ways in which either a manager or an investor can evaluate how effective a company is in these particular areas. So that's operating margin. Essentially, this is the earnings a company makes before it has to take out interest expense and tax expense as a proportion of their net sales. So in this case, you would say on average, for every dollar in net sales that this company has, they would earn, their EBIT would be 9.46 cents on the dollar. So of every dollar of sales, 9.46 on average would be represented as the earnings before interest and taxes. So just one way to think about it on a dollar basis, on a per dollar basis. All right, and the last one here, the profit margin. This is a big one. This is used by a lot of people. And this is very similar to operating margin, except instead of EBIT, we're using net income in the numerator. And we're dividing by the same thing, by net sales. So I think the net income here is 117.5, which we've used before. So that would just be that divided by 3,000 again. And this should give us our profit margin. Somebody can check my math here for me. Oops. So I get 3.92%. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah. 3.91666667.
Yep.
That's pretty good, Steve.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad. I've taught this class 6 times now. I'm hoping I should get these ones right. So this is another profitability measure, and this is really especially if you're a small business owner, this is what you care about more than anything else, because your net income is what you take home. I mean, you care about it as an investor too, but it's not quite as meaningful as if you're the owner of the business and you say, okay, my net income for this year was $65,000. That means that's what I made. And so as a percentage of your net sales, you can then say, okay, if my profit margin is 3.92 on average this year, then I can expect from every dollar of sales that I'm going to be taking home in my pocket after Uncle Sam and the bank takes their bite for interest and taxes, 3.92 cents for every dollar. So if you sell $100 worth of goods, you're like, okay, I have a take home today of $3.92.
How come a lot of these are below the average? It says the average is 5%. Is that necessarily bad?
Yeah, well, everything else being equal, yes. If the profit margin is less than the average, industry average, or less than the benchmarks, maybe that would be considered bad, or at least
1%, so it's not too bad.
Yeah. But it's definitely, I mean, it's something, if you're trying to increase your performance and you're comparing it against these other metrics, whether it's an average or a specific company or a benchmark, that's sort of your comparison. So you want to at least meet.
What is that called again? We discussed last week. Companies can compare themselves to other companies.
Benchmarking?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what it was.
benchmarking. Yeah. So benchmarking is comparing to the top companies in your industry, and then industry average is just comparing to everybody on average in your industry. Yeah. Okay, so we have now navigated all 10 of these ratios. And like I said, next, what we're going to do is an in-class exercise where each of you is going to work on the financials for, I think, Safeway, I want to say. And then we're going to, this is how we'll do it. There are 10 of these, just like all of these financial ratios, assignments, and things like that. There will be 10 because you're going to be using each one of these ratios each time, right? Or you're going to need to calculate each one of these ratios. So what we'll do tonight is, let's see, what time is it? 5:30. So we'll take maybe a little less than, we'll take 3 or 4 minutes on each one of these. So I'll give everybody 3 or 4 minutes to say do number 1 on these new financials, the current ratio. And then at that point, I'll ask for answers and we'll go through it and make sure everybody's on the same page, and then we'll move on to number 2. So if you have questions, yeah. So I would recommend downloading this Chapter 4 financials calculation just so you can enter it directly, and then if you want to, you can save. In fact, it would probably be another good thing to study from if you just saved what we worked on today, and then you can refer to it for next week too.
I didn't bring, I'm not at home, and so I didn't bring any of my material. Am I going to need my book for tonight's project?
Nope. You'll just need this Chapter 4 financials calculation, and then the other.
See to get out of share screen so I can go on the camera.
Let's see here. And so the other document that you'll need for this is the, oh, it's Santa Cruz. In-class exercise, Santa Cruz financial statements. So down at the bottom of the resources under week 5, there's this link. And you might as well download this as well, because if you...
So, if we're going to be doing this online while we're in class, then I'll have to log off with you to go to that, right?
No. You can access all of, yeah, you can access all of this at the same time as you're connected here.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just opening up another application on your computer. So let's see here. Yeah, so we'll do the Santa Cruz financial statements. And so we're going to just work on these in order, just like we did them before, or last week, I should say. And then we'll go over them. And so just, I guess I need to open up a blank one of these. Yeah, open up a blank one of these chapter 4 financial calculations spreadsheets. And you can work from that.
I did my homework on the Hagen's calculations.
Did your homework on the Hagen's calculations? Yes.
Financial statement.
Uh-huh.
Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah, that was the, so for tonight, Mallory had a question about the assignment that was for tonight from last week, and it was based on those Hagen financial statement calculations that are also listed under week 5, or financial statements, I should say. But last week, your assignment was only 1 through 8 because we didn't cover 9 and 10, so.
Download that. Download the.
Oops. Here we go.
So how do I download that while I'm online with you here? There you go.
You just, there's a link to click there. This link right here. It says download blank financial calculations worksheet. You can do that with any of these documents that are listed here in Canvas. It will display it in the window, but you'll also have the opportunity to open up in Microsoft Word.
But see, I'm not in Canvas, I'm in Zoom. When I went to Canvas to go to Zoom, it just took me to Zoom and took me out of Canvas.
No, Zoom and your internet browsers are separate. So.
Okay. Well, I'm in Zoom and I don't know how to go back to Canvas without disconnecting with you.
Well, just click on Internet Explorer.
They're still there, and I just went out of there, so I guess it does work.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So, so let's go ahead and work on the first financial calculation here for Santa Cruz, which is the current ratio. So, again, feel free to use the notes or the document that we used last week for these equations. And
we're going to do current ratio.
Current ratio first. Yeah, current ratio for Santa Cruz bikes. Excuse me.
You don't need to put all those zeros in here, do we?
No, yeah, you don't need to put it out to the billionth. Whatever they give you there, you can just use. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you will need to use these zeros because it's not like in thousands or in millions. Those are the actual numbers.
Okay.
Got to do zeros. And just also recall that, so all of these answers should be to 2 decimal places. So
I get confused. I get this on my calculator and do it at home. And I just move it over twice, right?
But this isn't a percentage.
Oh.
So that is the actual number that you want to put in there. Just to 2 decimal places, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, I want to put in the 1 point. Okay. They gave the big kid the law, and the little kid had a pack law.
Oh, yeah.
I remember those days.
All right. And when you're done, why don't you just go ahead and you can text me. Why don't you text your answer to the group or to me, whichever you want. And that way I know you're finished.
Go back to every time I do something, I gotta re-download the function.
What's that?
Oh, I just have to re-download it now. In the chat.
Yeah. Yep, Chris, that is correct. Except to 2 decimal places. So just the 4 and the 0 at the end. You can knock those off. I'm trying to talk all secretive so nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Message you or do it on the.
Just message, yeah, whichever. Sometimes we'll do extra credit in here on these exercises. I guarantee we'll probably do that by the end of the quarter, and so. Yeah, no, the chat. Whatever.
See that?
Is it 1.3?
Nope. It's 1 point something, but not 1.3. You're off by 2 decimal places.
Me?
Yes. So it was your original answer. You didn't have to convert it. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought the first time.
Except you got to get rid of that 4 there.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah.
So it is first.
Okay. Yeah. So 1.10 is the answer, and so let me show you just so everybody knows. I do a lot of these, like when I'm creating the answer keys for these. When I change the numbers around, I have to redo the answer keys. So I just put everything in Excel, because then I can just go into the cell and I can say, okay, I want the current ratio. What's and the current ratio is current assets divided by current liabilities. So then all I have to do is do this equals, and I go over here and I say, okay, here's my current assets right here in B10. So I click on that, and then it puts B10 right there. And then I put divide, and then I can take my total current liabilities, and it comes in there, and it will divide it, and then hit enter, and I'll get 1.10. So, and I'd encourage you to start using Excel just for even basic math functions like this. It's really easy, especially if you're taking, that way you don't have to type out all these zeros too, right?
This way, but you sent us the other sheets.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead and download the Excel spreadsheet and just All I did was copy what was in that Word document and I threw it in here.
Hi, Steve.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Well, I tried to log into Zoom through Canvas and it won't let me. It says I have to open it in a new window, but I'm only on an iPad. I don't know if that's why, but you wanted us to do the current ratio, right?
Yes.
And so we would do the current assets and the current liabilities from which sheet?
From the Santa Cruz bike spreadsheet, the one that's open right here.
Oh.
So it's under week number 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Make sure you have the right financial statements open because I think right now there are 2 or 3 different sets under week 5. Yeah. So the ones that we're using are Santa Cruz bikes.
Can you make them a little bigger for me? I'm 45. I can't see that good.
You can change in any of that in the view here. Just go up to view and then increase the zoom on it. Because you should have this open on your computer. I'm not going to keep this up here. All right.
Oh, I was just saying for the class exercise tonight, I'm not going to be able to do much. Not at home.
Okay. Yeah. It's sort of key to be able to access Word and Excel for the class most times. So just to let you know, you definitely want to have a computer that can access those 2 programs.
Right. I'm usually, so I apologize.
Yep. All right. So let's see. So let's move on to number 2, which is the quick ratio. So do the quick ratio based on Santa Cruz. And then again, just send me a chat with your answer and I'll let you know.
What I can do though, Steve, is when I do go home, I can do these, and then I'll send them to you so you see if I did it right.
Yep, that's great. Yeah, you can do that. Again, this is just really practice for the test next week. So just
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I want to get it right. So.
Yep. Let's see.
Have I been doing my homework right?
I was telling the class earlier, I haven't graded all the homework that's been submitted yet, so I will do that by this weekend, though.
Okay. And when we're not going to have our test until midterms, which will be 2 weeks, right?
No, it's a week from today. Midterms are this week, actually. So the first test is next Tuesday, and that's all we're doing in class.
Okay.
So we'll have 2 hours for the test.
Yes, you will have 2 hours for the in-class part of the test. Yep.
Book.
Yep.
We do get to use the book?
Yes, it's open book, open note.
How awesome is that?
Is this one a percentage?
This is not a percentage. Quick ratio is just a number. Let's see here. No, Christopher, no.
So Steve, since we're doing this and I can't really participate, is it okay if I log off and then when I get home, I'll jot it down and send it to you?
If you want, I wouldn't encourage that because you can still see what we're going to be doing, but
Okay,
yeah, it's certainly up to you.
All right. Well, I feel like I can't do nothing unless I log off and go back in.
So you can't access any of the documents on Canvas?
Well, see, I'm on an iPad. It's not a regular laptop thing.
So it probably doesn't even have, it may not even have, I should say, Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel. So yeah.
I do have that on my iPad, but I'm not able to access them for some reason. Maybe I have to repay for them, but I thought they were all paid up to date. I don't know. I'm a little bit illiterate, but learn fast.
0.87.
Yes. Yes. They can't hear.
Oh. Well, what the?
But you can, Joe. You got to still do your own calculation.
I was going to do with the decimals over that. So
Oh, there you go. Don't move the decimals. All right. All right, so I'm going to show this one right now because we're having a few different answers come through. Yes, George. Yep, that's right. All right, so here's what I got, 0.87. And so for the quick ratio, this is how I calculated it. And if you look up here in this formula bar up here, you can see what's going on in each cell that you click on. So if I click on this, it shows me here. And these are cell references, just so everybody knows. All the columns are letters and all the rows are numbers. So if you see something like B10, it just means you go to column B and go down to 10. And that's what it's referring to is just that cell B10 there. So for this quick ratio, you have to take total current assets and we subtract the inventory out of there. So that all has to happen in the numerator before you divide by E8, which is your current liabilities here. So if you're doing it in Excel, this way up here is how you would need to do it so that it's done in the correct order. The subtraction occurs and then the division. So it's 0.87 on that. And again, I just did this.
You set that on percentage, right? And then you, like what you're doing your current ratio, you have it percent on percentage, and then you add your current assets and or do your current assets and current liabilities, and then it will automatically put the decimal point if needed in it, right?
No. Current ratio and quick ratio are not percentage answers. Percentage answers are numbers 7 through 10 here. All the other equations are just numbers.
Then it's not a percentage answer?
No.
Oh.
1 and 2 are not. Quick ratio is not. So
we don't have to show our work in this one.
What's that?
No, never mind.
So
This answered my question.
yeah. Okay. So that's the quick ratio. Let's move on to number 3, which is the inventory turnover ratio.
It's the reason why 1 and 2 aren't percentage answers is because you're talking with something a little bit more serious, so it has to be right on the money or something?
No, it's just some of these ratios are typically or conventionally expressed in percentage, and some are just conventionally expressed in numbers. And so that's just how the rest of the business world would understand these calculations.
So we go to the next one.
Yeah, number 3, the inventory turnover ratio.
That's when we do net sales, right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out this. I'm trying to do that Excel stuff.
Did you just call him Jim?
Yeah.
He might have been calling you the wrong thing.
No,
Okay.
my name's James. I don't know why she called me Jim.
Okay.
So I can go D6. Right?
Yep, you can either click on the cell or you can type it in. Yeah, either way. Work.
Divided by inventories. This
Yes, George, that is correct.
So that means inventory is sold in like 10 days.
No. It means it's sold about 10 times every year, sold through. So a little bit more than a month. I think you're rounding, Chris, I think you're rounding. You just need to round to 2 decimal places.
what did you get now?
9.7.
That's right. For some reason, I just copy and paste this.
All right, so yeah, so the answer for this one is 9.71, and I wanted to show you, so when I did the calculation here, this is what it shot out to me, right? Which is obviously not to 2 decimal places. And so if you're not familiar with changing decimal places in Excel, it's what these 0 buttons here are used. One's used to increase the number of decimal places. So if I click on this, it'll throw more decimal places in there. If I click on the one on the right, it decreases the number of decimal places by 1 each time I click it. And so I just click it until I'm where I want it, and then I'm at 9.71. And it will take care of rounding and everything like that for you. So you don't have to think about that either. So. And as I was saying to Mallory, this means that they have sold through their inventory almost 10 times in a year, which is, given that there are 12 months in a year, that means they've sold, it takes them a little bit more than a month to sell through this inventory of 3.46 million on average throughout the year. So they're replenishing their inventory 10 times throughout the year. And again, depending on the industry, this could be good or this could be bad. It all depends. Okay, so let's move on to days sales outstanding, and just interrupt me here if you have any questions as we're going through here. But
Steve?
Yep.
I forgot what table it is I was supposed to pull up. I think I was just listening to you on Canvas, so I might be able to do it now. But what table do I pull up again on Canvas?
Well, it's under week number 5, and it's the
Oh, I wonder why.
in-class Santa Cruz Bikes financial statements.
Okay, let me see if I can do this again.
Oh, that's why I keep messing up. I'm sorry, are we doing the next one?
Yes.
I'm still just trying to do my formula of the next cell. Oh, yeah, this is what I got stuck in at home.
So 2109. I do that right?
No. Hey, Austin, make sure that you're using the Santa Cruz link that's on under week 5. Because if you're using the same Santa Cruz, say maybe from previous quarters, the numbers have changed. I'm not sure where you're accessing that, but the one under week 5 should have the same numbers. If not, you might try to download it again. Click on the link and download it again. All right, so no one's got this yet? Oh, it's close.
So now I can't find the table where it tells you to add together to get the answers.
The table that,
Yeah, like I don't know what I went to before, but I went out and I went to Zoom and I pulled up something and it said to get the current ratio, I would add the current assets and the current liabilities. And so now I can't find that table. I don't know what I pulled it up under, but it was somewhere on our Zoom.
well, yeah, no, it's in Canvas. It's a Word document under week number 5 called In Class. I just pulled it up. In Class. In Class Chapter 4 Financial Calculations. That's what we worked from last week during class. Yes, we got one correct, George. Yes. All right, I'm going to jump in here. All right, so for the day sales outstanding, the calculation should be your accounts receivable is what you're trying to determine, or that's what you're going to use in your numerator. So it's 4.4 million here. And this is what I did up here if you want to see in Excel land what this is. B7 divided by, which is accounts receivable, divided by your net sales divided by 365. But you have to have the stuff in the denominator, your net sales divided by 365 in parentheses. So that happens first, and then you divide AR into whatever the result of that is. And I actually just tried to do it. If you don't use parentheses, then this is what happens. It gives you a number that doesn't make sense. By 365 gives you 0.00 if you just put it in without parentheses. So
What do you mean if you? What do you mean if you don't, like, if to find out the days outstanding? You said you use net sales and what?
it's net sales divided by 365 in the denominator.
Oh, and if you don't use parentheses, it does that. But what if you're doing the current liabilities and you don't parentheses and you just put the current assets and current liabilities? Do you need to put that in parentheses to get?
It depends. It depends all on the equation you're working in. But if you have multiple divisions going on like you do in this one, you need to make sure that you have, because this is the equation right here is here it is, AR divided by net sales over 365. So really what you're doing is you're dividing your accounts receivable by your average daily sales. That's what average daily net sales, that's what this does. So you have to figure out what your average daily net sales is first, and then you can divide it into your accounts receivable. So that's what this is doing down here.
Oh.
So it just, but it depends on the equation. That's just for this.
You can just do it all in one problem. You don't have to do it in separate problems.
No, you actually do. You need to figure out this part first, the net sales divided by 365 first, and then you can divide that.
Oh, all right.
There, yep. Okay, so for that one, the answer was 47.80 days. Okay. Again, throw questions out if you have them. So we'll move on to debt ratio. So here's a question, I guess, for you. So we're gonna do the rest of these 6 calculations here, and then again, just a real brief review of the test for next week. And I imagine that would take maybe 25 minutes or so. So do you guys want to have a break right now, or do you just want to push through and get it done? It's up to you.
Push through and get it done.
Everybody good with that? All right. I'm good with that too. Let's do it. So debt ratio. Let's do that for Santa Cruz. This one's pretty straightforward.
Just one, right?
Nope. You have to split out what's, have to determine what are liabilities and what are equities, because your equity shouldn't be in there. So in this one, two of you have asked this question now. You do need to determine which are liabilities and which are equities for this one, because this equation, all you want in the numerator are liabilities. You don't want any of the equities in there for the division. So you got to remove those.
Would it be 94%?
No. Getting closer though. Anybody have an answer coming soon? So far, I've gotten no correct answers. No. All right, I'm gonna throw this one out to you all too. This, not that. So I got a debt ratio 0.72, and this is the only one that you can, as far as I'm concerned, that can be expressed either in a number like this or as a percentage. Those are the same numbers. They're just one's represented as percentage, the other's represented as decimal. And the way that I got the debt ratio was to take, so it's total liabilities divided by total assets. So of these liabilities, what do we need to add together to get our total liabilities? Which of those numbers on the balance sheet?
Long-term debt.
Accounts receivable and notes payable.
Accounts payable, right? And notes payable?
Oh yeah, my bad. I meant payable.
Yeah. I'm sorry, and what was someone else was saying?
That's the long-term debt.
And long-term debt, yeah. James, or Jim as we know him now, it's a long-term debt. So you would take your total current liabilities, which are all your current ones, and then you'd add long-term debt because it's a long-term liability. And that will give you the total here, which is, this is the other cool thing about Excel. You can highlight cells, and like you can hold the control key down and highlight cells, individual cells. And if you go down here at the bottom and look, it's probably hard to see on your screen, but you can do this in Excel on your computer. It will sum them up. It will add them up for you without, if you just want to find out what 3 different, 4 or 5 different cells adds up to, you can select them and then look down below here. It'll add them up. It'll also tell you how many of them you've selected, which is 3. I've selected 3 cells here, count 3. And then the average, it just calculates an average for you. So if you're interested in what the average of those 3 cells is, it will give that to you. down here.
Also, don't they also have financial accounting apps that you can download where it does on your Excel and then it'll do everything for you, right?
I don't know about doing everything for you, but I'm sure there are some apps that will, guide you through the process a little more. Yeah. But we're going to just be working in Excel this quarter, just because it's something that's good for you to know.
Yeah. The more I work with it, the more I know.
So that's how you get liabilities on this one. Just your current liabilities plus long-term debt. Common stock and retained earnings are not liabilities. Those are equities. In this balance sheet, they're just not broken out in a separate category. So you take that as your numerator, and then you divide it by your total assets, and that's just this big number down here.
That's I did wrong.
67 million.
By the current asset.
Oh yeah, and that's a common mistake I've seen in past quarters is that when people do this, they'll just use current liabilities and current assets again, and that's the current ratio is where you use those two numbers. But for the debt ratio, you want to use all your assets and all your liabilities. So that's why you have to include both these in there.
That's
okay. 0.72, right? All right, and all right. So let's move on to number 6, which is times interest earned ratio, and I will I'll provide these this spreadsheet with these answers to you. I'll post it to Canvas so you can look at how I did things. So times interest earned. What 0.82? Really?
No.
2 of the 3 numbers were right. I'm trying to figure out though how you got the other one. You're doing some magic math over there. Yes, there you go. Just throw a 1 in there. No one will notice. No, you should take that one with you to math class sometime. I wore too much eyeliner today. I can't do these problems. See what Mateo would have to say to that. I think his hair might explode more. Yes, George.
He asks me what I see. So maybe I'll just say I can't.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not too bad.
Mateo, I finally figured out what my issue was. We got 2 right answers so far.
Steve, what are the last ones to figure out so I can see if I can at least get one done?
Well, we're just working through those 10 financial calculations. Right now we're on number 6.
What are they?
Well,
I can go pull them up separately, but it's just taking me longer than it would be if I were at home.
so the one we're working on right now is times interest earned ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be working on return on equity,
there we go. I got it.
return on assets,
You got a question.
operating margin, and then profit margin.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yes, James.
So that's my confusion. I didn't know what EBIT to use. The one below interest or the one below depreciation expense.
So the one below interest is just EBT.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, note if you're using the income statement, there are three very closely related earnings statement. There's EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That's what that stands for. EBIT, which is earnings before interest and taxes, and then EBT, which is just earnings before taxes. So if you sort of look how it flows from the top to the bottom, you can watch how after EBITDA, they take out depreciation expense. So that's what gets you to EBIT. And then from there, they take out interest expense, which gets you to EBT. And from there, they take out taxes, which is the last thing before you get to your net income, the last deduction. So it's a good way to understand how that process works. Okay, so for this one, we got a few correct answers. Oops.
Okay, so for this one, it's EBIT and interest, right?
Yes, EBIT
Okay.
and interest, yes.
All right.
Yeah, so the correct answer for this one, times interest earned ratio is 7.82, which essentially means that their EBIT is 7.82 times greater than what they're paying in interest every year. And so their EBIT would have to shrink quite a bit before they wouldn't be able to make this $1,296,000 interest payment here. So all we're doing there is comparing this number, 10.140 million, to 1.296 million. And it shows that their EBIT could decrease quite a bit before they wouldn't be able to make their interest payments anymore. So. All right, moving on. Next one is return on equity. So the challenging, well, maybe the challenging part of this calculation is determining what on the balance sheet represents equity. So, hint, hint.
Steve,
Yep.
I can't see all my notes on my homework, but I don't know if you're allowed to tell me out loud, but can I ask you out loud?
What's that?
Okay, so for this one, it's income, and then I can't read the whole last word. I can read COMM, and that's it.
I'm not sure. What are you referring to?
I want to get to the I want to try to come up with calculations on our Santa Cruz FE or Santa Cruz one for return on equity, and I went to look on my cheat sheet that homework that I've already turned into you from Canvas, and I have you do it by doing income, and I can't see the other word because half of it's cut off. I see COMM, and that's all.
Common stock is probably what that refers to.
Okay, thank you.
Let's try it. Anybody got anything? Yet?
No, I'm just confused which one's a common equity.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So which of, I'll just throw this out there for everybody. Which of the items on the balance sheet are equity accounts? Because that's one of the key things you need to know to be able to do this ratio. Anybody?
A12 through 14.
No, those are asset accounts. You mean like the building, land, equipment, fixed asset? Those are asset accounts. Anybody else want to hazard a guess?
Okay, so what do you mean? You mean which ones are the common stocks and which ones are the net incomes, you mean?
Which are the equity accounts? So we have asset accounts, liability accounts, and equity accounts in a balance sheet. So of the ones that are represented there, which ones are the equity accounts? They're not labeled, but they're in the same section. They're right next to each other.
I have to go back and pull it up.
What's that, James?
Yeah, the long-term debt.
No, that's a liability. All right.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. So to do the return on equity, you go in there and you pull up all the equity counts first, and then you do the net income and common stock.
No, the equation is net income divided by basically your equities. So the question is, which of these accounts here in the, here, I'll just bring it up here. In the balance sheet is an equity account. So, you know, asset accounts here, liability accounts. So to be able to do this equation, the equity accounts in a publicly traded company, the equity accounts are going to be common stock and retained earnings. Those two added together represent the equity of the company. In a privately owned company, which is probably what you dealt with most in financial accounting, you would just have one entry under equities usually, and it would just be owner's equity is how it would be defined. So, but in the case of publicly traded companies, you have to add the common stock and the retained earnings together, and that total gives you the total equity of the company. So in this particular one, excuse me.
So if that would be how you do the equity, then on the assets, it's the same way, except you do that with the assets instead of the equity, right? And it would be the total assets and the income then, right?
Yes, yeah, that's for the next one, return on assets, yeah. So for this return on equity, we got 30.03%. And again, for 7, 8, 9, and 10, all these last four, these are all going to be in percentage format. So if you're working with Excel, the easiest thing to do is to just select all your cells and then go up here and click on the percent side before you even do any math in those cells, because then it'll just automatically convert it into a percent as opposed to a decimal place like they did above, or decimal. Okay. All right, so let's move on to do return on assets now, which hopefully is pretty straightforward for folks.
I got 8%.
To 2 decimal places. And remember, all these should be to 2 decimal places.
Steve,
Yep.
so for number 2, to do the quick ratio, it's current assets minus inventories divided by liabilities, or what?
Divided by current liabilities, yes.
Okay. And then the inventory turnover ratio is sales divided by inventories.
Yes.
And for today's sales outstanding is accounts. Can you tell me how to that one? Because I can't. It's all cut off on here. I got accounts receivable, then it's cut off, and then I have receivables divided by average sales per day equals receivables, and then the sales divided by 365.
Yeah, it's basically accounts receivable divided by, and then in parentheses on the bottom, net sales divided by 365. So you have to have your average sales on the bottom, which is what the calculation of net sales divided by 365 gives you. And then on the top is accounts receivable.
Okay, that's right. The 8.47.
Yes, George. Close. 47? Really? Is that rounded?
No, 0.48. My bad.
0.48, yeah.
I was just reading that wrong.
Yep. All right, yeah, so for that one, a few people have gotten this. The return on assets was just 8.48%. So again, this is just net income divided by total assets. We'll give you that number. All right, and
So
for these last two, I'm gonna basically do a timed version of these because we need to. Well, I'll just tell you for the test next week, the number of these calculation questions, I sort of estimate it's going to take you 5 minutes to do each one of these. So
I have a question for our
to
test.
let you know. Okay, just 1 second. And so we're going to do these last two on 5-minute intervals. But just so you know, as you're working through your assignments this week, this is where you should be with regards to doing these calculations. You should.
Because you're only going to give us so long.
What's that?
Because you're only going to give us so long on our test, huh?
Well, the test is from 5 to 7, or a little
okay.
after 5, whenever.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah. You had a question?
Yeah. So to figure out the total assets, operating margin, and the profit margin, to figure those out, we do EBIT and sales, right? And then income and sales. Net income and sales.
Well, so the operating margin is EBIT divided by net sales, and the profit margin is net income divided by sales.
Oh, okay.
So those are the two equations for those. Yeah.
So it's not. It's divided by net sales, not sales.
Correct. Yeah. If you're ever given net sales, always use that.
Okay.
So let's see here. I'm just going to put my timer on here. So let's do operating margin first, and then we'll do profit margin, and we'll be done.
Okay. Starting now?
Starting. You got it. 5 minutes.
Got this.
And I highly recommend both for your assignments and for the test, since the test is open book, open note, that you have all these equations accessible somewhere so you can refer to them.
The test is next week.
Test is next. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to write all these formulas down on one paper. instead of trying to go through my book and find them. I think it's one.
Or you could use what we worked on last week too, because that has all of the.
Well, that's why I want to put it in Excel, but you can't put it. You can't use it on our desk.
Oh yeah, you can use
Shows the
anything.
formulas right in Excel. But
Yeah, that's fine. That's yeah. You're still gonna have to figure out which numbers to use for the formulas. So.
Yeah. Put it operating margin.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So. Steve,
Yep.
sorry, I just want to let you know I just now was able to pull up my Santa Cruz, so I'm probably ain't gonna get this done on time either.
Well, that's all right. This isn't being turned in. We're just working on this tonight.
But I mean, I got the point though. I got how to get the number, so that's all that counts, really, right? If you know how to do the math, right?
Important
then
part.
you'll be okay. Huh?
It's the important part. Yep. All right, a little less than a minute left on this one.
So basically, I divide 10,140,000 by 33,600,000, right?
Well, we're going to go through that in a second.
Oh.
Yeah. As soon as this 5-minute timer's up. Did anyone finish yet? I haven't gotten any answers yet.
Oh, we're supposed to write you the answers?
Well, or tell me. Yeah, you can. If you want feedback before the time's up, yeah. All right, there's a great button. I just figure out how to turn it off. There we go. Okay. No, James. Anybody else have an answer they want to throw at me?
Oh, that was for the second question. I'm sorry.
For the second question, okay.
For number 10,
Oh, what's number 9 then?
I got
31? But it's a 2 decimal? No.
I don't think I did the decimals right.
You didn't.
Freaking up.
It's 30.18%, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you
I
got,
did the
Mallory?
decimals over.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So again, if you
So, for that one, with the EPA.
if you're using Excel to do these, again, I'd recommend that you just whatever cells that you want percent in, you just select them, and then click on this percent button up top here, and that will just convert it. And so everything you put in there will just automatically be converted into it.
Also, there's a financial accounting calculator you can download on your device, and it will do that for you too.
Yeah. Okay, so that one was operating margin. So let's do this last one,
Yeah, I just rounded it up.
profit margin. So go ahead and start. This will be the last one. Then we'll go over quick test review and assignments, and then you're good to go.
So that's the same thing. Yeah, so I'm just moving my decimal.
Yeah, the one that you sent me was for that last one, James, was correct, except
Okay.
it wasn't to 2 decimals though, right?
Yeah.
It was just a 1. So if you, yeah, yes. And George, yes, that's correct. Remember, Austin, they should be to 2 decimal places, so you're on the right track then.
17.5%.
Yes. You must have taken off some of your eyeliner. So what is that, Austin, in percentage format? This one you have to convert if you're not using Excel. Except to 2 decimal places.
I just got the regular 17. I did it the next time.
Steve?
Yep.
Okay, so I must have took my calculator off here, and I don't feel like doing this in my head, but I probably can't say nothing out loud, huh?
We'll go over how this one is calculated. So
Okay.
in about 1 minute, I think.
Does the first number start with the 5?
For the answer?
To the net income, or the
Yes.
okay, and the other one starts with a 3.
Yes.
Okay.
16.8.
Mm-mm.
Okay, that's not. So I'm just reading decimal.
Oops. Okay, so just real briefly before we start this, a couple people, looks like, showed 16.78 or 16.8 is your answer. And I'm guessing what you've done is to use sales, this top number, instead of net sales in your calculation. Because if I go back here, I'll just do it using the wrong sales number. Whoops, I gotta do the equation correctly first though. Net income divided by net sales. But if I do net income divided by sales, and I take it to 2 decimal places, yeah, so 16.78. So if you use the top sales number, again, always use net sales if you're given it, but if you use this other number, your calculation is going to be slightly different. So the answer is 17.11, and again, that's just net income divided by net sales. 17.11%, excuse me. Okay. All right, so those are the excuse me, equations from chapter 4 that are going to be for your homework this week. So if you look at, real briefly, week number 5, I didn't add another week for this week, by the way, so we're sort of combining 2 weeks into one. Because we're going to be covering the same things again. I just added a few things to this. So there's only one new assignment for next week, and that's the Safeway Financial Ratios submission. And again, that's just doing the 10 calculations here based on the Safeway financial statements. And you can use this financial calculations worksheet at the top. This is the blank one, so you can use that and put your answers in there. If you would prefer to do them right in Excel, that's fine too. In fact, it might be advisable. I would just ask that all of your answers are sort of in a format like this. I've had some people do it in Excel and not label their answers, and it's just very difficult to figure out what answer goes with which particular question. So please label the question numbers if you're going to do an Excel like this, and obviously if you do it in Word, that's already taken care of for you. So
you're going to add this to?
Yes, and I will add this, what we worked on today, and these answers up to week number 5, so that you can look at that this week too to review it if you like. So you have one more example.
I was going over some of the work that I had sent you, and I try to. Well, I usually like to double line my answers, and I noticed that I only did that, and I don't remember what assignment was. It was an assignment from last week, but I only put a double line through one of the answers, but I think that you might be able to figure it out, the ones I didn't double line.
Okay. Yeah, I will. As I said, I haven't graded the most recent homework, so when I do that, if I have any questions, I typically will just respond back and let you know.
Right.
My seat is shrinking here. All right, so for next week, so again, next week, the first, go out and vote first, and then get ready to take a test. So this is just the first test, and it will be, again, based on just what we've covered in class out of chapters 1 through 4. So if you look back over what the reading assignments were and what the actual assignments were, and I recommend reviewing previous assignments, especially once I've gotten them graded and given you feedback, that's a good way to study for the test. I would also recommend that you, especially for these financial calculations in chapter 4, that you just have them written out in a document or on a sheet or something so that you can easily access them, because you don't want to be searching through your book during the test when you have a limited amount of time to work on it to try to find those. So and it's just another good way of preparing. You can, if you write notes out or write the equations out themselves, then that's essentially one more chance that you've had to work with the information and hopefully cement it in your mind a little bit better. So So we'll be doing that from 5 to 7 next week. I'll be working on getting everybody to the place they need to be in the NNI. So I'll be emailing the NNI folks, and once they get everybody set up, I'll send an email out to y'all with an assignment for that module. And if for some reason they can't get it together before the test, then we'll just do that for the week after, essentially. So
On the NNI, I went there again, and you know how there's so many steps to the application. So I think I made it to the last step, or the second before last step, and then it asked for money or something.
yeah, I sent you an email back, and if you use the link that I sent you in the email, you shouldn't be prompted for payment. If you go to their general sign up website, it will prompt you for payment, but the link that they've sent us is specifically for this class.
See, when I go to that link on my computer from home, my computer tells me I don't have enough something to do the rest of the application, something with memory or something, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to work on that. That might be something that we can set up a time and have a Zoom session, because I can't help you technically at all with much of this stuff unless I can see what's going on.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll see if I can't do it from my iPad, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, that would be good.
All right.
Okay, and then the other thing for next week, or over this next week, is again, all of your assignments that are due up to this point have to be turned in by the beginning of the test at 5 o'clock. And if you do that, then you'll get credit. You can certainly turn them in after that point in time. There just won't be any credit for them. And again, the real reason for this is because all of these assignments go. The purpose is to get you prepared to know the information, and then to be able to perform on the test. And so if you don't do them before the test, then it's sort of less useful. So remember that for next week. And if you have any questions during this next week, just email me and we can set up a time to meet if we need to, via Zoom or in person, or if you have questions that I can answer via email, I'm definitely able to do that too. So
If you could kind of go over a little bit what I've done and make sure I got it right, so that when I do take the test on Tuesday, I'm prepared. I think I have it, but I would like to make sure.
Well, yeah, I'm going to be grading all of the homework up through that was due through today. And actually, if you get me your financial calculations that are due next Tuesday early enough, then I can grade those too and get feedback to you before the test on Tuesday night. So definitely, I'd recommend doing that.
Right.
So.
Thank you, Steve. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay. Have a good night.